Hello students, I am Potions Master Hal, and today I would like to teach you everything that I know about the production and distribution of pharmaceuticals, so that you too can make 3000 groschen in a single night. Maybe more if you find advanced recipes. And if the money wasn't enough, a good alchemist may use his skills to create combat stimulants that will turn even the weakest peasant into a formidable fighter. Best part is, you can become an expert within the first day. Sounds good? Let's begin. You've already had your first encounter with the alchemist's bench after Doc Bozena saved your life. In fact, she might have even given you her recipe book and had you brew a potion already. Unfortunately, her lessons were a bit confusing. She taught me the basics too, but only after I abandoned her archaic teachings and forged my own path did I really come into my own as a master alchemist. Let's start with the basics. If you've found your way into the village of Troszkowice, you should already be in possession of a couple of potion recipes. One for chamomile decoction, another one for savior schnapps. Bozena and her daughter gave them to you. I know this thanks to the clairvoyance potion I just drank. As you gain money, you may purchase even better recipes from the local apothecary. They're all amazing, so you'll buy them all eventually, but early on, that's a bit difficult, cause you're broke. But if you don't want to purchase those recipes, that's fine. You don't need them in your cookbook. As long as you follow my instructions, you don't need to spend a dime, except buying them improves your standings with the local merchants and they'll offer better prices, so you should consider it a worthy investment. First things first, we need to talk about your skills. The ones we need to focus on right now are survival and alchemy. The first allows you to more efficiently gather plants, find trinkets lying in the grass, and even be used as a training technique to develop your strength. The second is self-explanatory. Speech may also help you peddle your goods for a higher price with just the first two perks. But before you visit the chemistry lab, I recommend you spend a bit of time gathering plants in and around the first village. Nettles, chamomile, marigold, sage, and wormwood are the ones we need at the moment. No reason to pick other flowers, you can't brew them into anything useful yet, and they'll just weigh you down. Doing this will increase your survival skill, which can be developed even further when you take them to the drying rack, which is something you should do in order to preserve them for longer. When you have enough ingredients in your satchel, pay a visit to the local pharmacy. You can't use the main lab. The apothecary doesn't trust you with it. But there's one in a shack outside. That'll be your main alchemy bench for the foreseeable future. There's also a drying rack in there for your convenience. Inside, you'll also find a free recipe for the Artemisia potion, which I was too blind to see when I first started brewing. That's a damn good elixir, both in terms of earning potential and as a combat stem, but I suggest we leave it for later and start with the chamomile decoction. When you brewed it at Bozena's, you probably made the same mistakes as me, but I won't blame you, she didn't teach us the proper technique. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. So, the recipe for chamomile tea says the following. Put wine in the cauldron, prepare chamomile and sage. Drop 2 handfuls of chamomile in the pot, boil for 1 turn. Easy. But our first teacher said that in order to boil the wine, you have to fan the flames with the bellows, otherwise the liquid only simmers. So I followed her advice. After 1 turn of intense boiling, I put the sage in the mortar and pestle, ground it into a fine dust, added to the cauldron and then poured the potion in a phial. I got a weak chamomile decoction, which is good enough, I guess. Better than nothing, but this isn't going to make us any money. We need to do better. But how? That's what I kept asking myself until I obtained the recipe for buck's blood, which said the following. Step 1. Grind the St. John's wort and add to the cauldron. Step 2. Add the comfrey and boil for 1 turn. And step 3. Add the dandelion and, using the bellows, boil for 1 turn. That's when my mind was illuminated and realized that Bozena taught us wrong. No, putting the cauldron over the flame doesn't just make the liquid simmer, it actually boils. But there's 2 types of boiling. Gentle boiling, or what our first teacher calls simmering, and strong boiling, which is done by fanning the flames with the bellows. But I don't blame the old lady. Maybe the language they used in the books she read when she was a young lass was different from the recipes we have today, and with her old eyes, she taught us as best she could. So now that we have this new piece of information, how do we correctly brew a potion? Let's try the Artemisia. Now I'm going to deviate from the main recipe a bit and explain why I've done it after the potion is done. First, we'll prepare some dried sage and wormwood. Then we add 1 handful of wormwood to the mortar and another one. Pour spirits into the pot to serve as the base of our potion. Add 1 sage to the mix and lower the cauldron over the flame. Wait 1 second, then turn the sand glass. You don't need to look directly at it, there's a shortcut. Same with the cauldron, when the sand runs out and you need to lift it above the flames. Now that you've boiled the sage for 1 turn, it's time to grind the wormwood, add it to the cauldron, and lower it on the fire once more. Wait a sec for the mix to start boiling, turn the sand glass. When the timer finishes, turn it again, and prepare for liftoff at the exact second when the sand runs out. Then grab a file, but instead of pouring directly from the pot, use the distiller. The mix is toxic for human consumption otherwise. I don't know if it counts as a poison, but it's definitely not fun to drink. If you did everything correctly, you've brewed your first batch of absinthe, and you should be proud of yourself. But what if I told you you can do better? You see, I intentionally sabotaged your process when I had you use dried herbs instead of fresh ones. You would have gotten a stronger elixir if you used fresh ingredients, but don't despair. As your alchemy skill increases, you can brew exceptional cocktails even with dried herbs. You can feel free to use a mix of both for best results. Let's try another one using fresh herbs and a new technique. Now this one is my absolute favorite. I can't tell you how many times it saved my life with its miraculous regenerative properties. The healing potion, known locally as the marigold decoction. Prepare the fresh nettle and marigold and pour water into the cauldron. Add the 2 handfuls of marigold to the mortar, put the nettle in the water and lower the kettle on the flames. As soon as that's done, grab the mortar and pestle and grind the marigold, then dump it as quickly as you can in the dish in front of you. Soon as you put the mortar down, lift up the pot. Now you can relax and breathe a sign of relief. Calmly grab the dish holding the ground marigold, throw it into the water, grab a file and pour. If you followed this exact procedure, you should have brewed a strong marigold decoction, and without relying on the sand glass. Congratulations! But you may wonder, how? Well, a turn is exactly 10 seconds. The nettle needs to boil in water for 2 turns, and it takes you precisely 20 seconds to use the mortar and pestle and dump its contents in the dish below. Then at the last second you raise the cauldron and ta-da! You've boiled that nettle to perfection. I promised I'll tell you why I deviated from the recipe. You see, the cookbook tells you the order in which to boil the mix, but potion making has 2 main parts to it: the brewing itself and the preparation. As long as the potion is brewed correctly, nobody cares how you've prepared it. I can begin the process by grinding stuff and putting it into the dish, pouring the base half an hour later, boiling the first ingredient and throwing the second one in without even lifting the pot off the fire. And as long as the brewing order and boiling times are respected, nothing else matters. I especially like it when a recipe asks me to gently boil something for 2 turns, because I can grind the next ingredient in that time and speed up my process. But can we do better? Yes! Well, technically, you've already done everything perfectly in our last attempt. But it doesn't matter how good your technique is, unless you know a secret. Now you're gonna want to keep this down because I'm about to teach you the secret of secrets. Create potions over and over until your skill reaches level 16, then unlock the perk with the same name. Now, if you follow the correct procedure, you'll be able to brew potions of exceptional quality. If quality is all you want, and you hate being punished for your mistakes, you may also learn the secret of equilibrium, which will make the brewing process more tolerant of minor errors. But I don't recommend you do this. Instead, you should learn the secrets of matter so that you can brew even more potions with the perfect technique I taught you. 3 extra potions per brewing process is much better than not trusting yourself to boil a plant correctly. Speaking of perks, these are the ones I take. Lab Dweller is something you pick up naturally as you stand in the fumes of the alchemy bench while mixing illicit substances. Potion Seller is the first one I take as soon as my skill reaches level 6 for obvious reasons. The secrets of brewing a higher quality and quantity of potions were already mentioned. Then we have Dark Arts Apprentice, which makes our brewing process more forgivable if we do it in the quiet hours of the night. Finally, there's Purple Haze 1 and 2, which basically turn you into an unstoppable juggernaut the more you drink your elixirs. We'll see it in action soon enough. But the last perk I wanted to mention is Special Powder, which will come in handy when you find your own hand cannon. I can't point you in the direction of one, I've only heard rumors, but improving the efficiency of your weapons with alchemy sounds wonderful. Finally, if you want to squeeze even more money out of the town merchants, being a silver-tongued adept of the mystic arts is something you should aspire to, but you gotta get out of your room and socialize a bit. And just as I've said in the beginning, the best part is that you can become an expert alchemist within your first day here. Just spend a bit of time gathering the plants I mentioned, grab the free recipe from inside the shack, and spend the entire day brewing Chamomile and Artemisia potions. In the late afternoon, pay a little visit to the shopkeeper and sell some of your wares. Grab a recipe or two if you can afford it, maybe even some ingredients. Belladonna doesn't grow on trees. Then spend the rest of the evening cooking. Before midnight, you'll have already become a Dark Arts Apprentice, and in the quiet of the night, you'll create the best potions possible. And whenever you feel your skill reaching an important milestone, take a break for self-reflection, remember the secrets of alchemy, keep working all night long, and at around 8 o'clock, when the apothecary opens for business, present him your miraculous medicines. After my first day, I offered to give him all of the mixtures I've created, and he said they're worth about 1,500 groschen. He only had 300, so I offered to purchase literally all of his recipes and the skill book he had on offer, and some ingredients in addition to that 300. And to top it off, this transaction greatly increased my standings, which means that he'll pay even better for my next batch. But I still had some potions left, so I took them to Bellathor at the general goods store across the street. He only paid me half of what the pharmacist did, but since I couldn't find any other buyers for my prescription medication, it was good enough. There was also this lady named Dorothy, in a camp somewhere between Zheleyov and Troshkovitz, who claimed her goods are totally legit, and whom I totally believe, because she paid full price for my merchandise. She didn't have a whole lot of money, but I bought some important stuff from her. But I don't know if she's still there. She might have already left. I assume the miller down south will pay a pretty penny for my potions, but I haven't paid him a visit yet. I can't wait to make my way to Kuttenberg. That's where I'll sell all of my wonderful tonics. The alchemists there must be loaded. Before I depart, I wanted to share with you another one of my secrets, which is related to my nickname. My favorite recipe to brew is, by far, Lion's Perfume. It's wonderful for making a good impression on the ladies, and it's the most expensive formula I've found so far. It's also very easy to brew. Pour spirits, drop mint in the mortar, put the sage in the cauldron, let it boil while I grind the mint and drop it in the dish, raise the pot and throw the mint inside. Pour and finished. It's very quick to make and doesn't require pinpoint precision like other ointments. The most difficult ones to time are those that require strong boiling with the bellows, because I never know how to use the sandglass. Only time I perfectly brew those kinds of drafts is when I count down from 10 myself, as I fan the flames, and when my inner timer runs out, I lift the cauldron off the fire. As for the raw materials, your cookbook should have all the necessary information on how to find them. I personally buy whatever I need from the apothecary. It's easier this way, but if I stumble upon something interesting in the wilderness, I'll make sure to pick it up. And that's all I can teach you about the production and distribution of illicit substances. But I also wanted to share a few things about their applications in combat. Did you ever hear the legend of the Witchers? It's not a story the scholars would tell you. Actually, you look rather smart. I'm sure you already know what a Witcher is, and how he relies on powerful potions to augment his combat abilities in order to hunt down dangerous monsters. We are not Witchers, but the Purple Haze perk makes you tougher and tougher for every potion that you drink. This ability is the cornerstone of the Witcher fighting style. If you know you're heading into battle and you've already brought your strongest potions, all I can say is, bottoms up! Savior Schnapps makes you stronger, Artemisia makes you better at fighting, Buck's Blood gives you more stamina, Digestive Potion grants vitality and empties your stomach a little, so that you may keep downing potions, and all of them increase your toughness as long as they're active. Still not feeling tough enough? Douse yourself in perfume, drink some mead, have a sip of chamomile tea, and if you get scratched and want to see the wound heal before your very eyes, it's time for a marigold decoction. You'll need a satchel if you wish to drink potions in the middle of combat. So if you have a potion in your satchel and you're feeling overwhelmed, face your enemy, back away slowly, and take your time drinking the entire thing. The better your satchel, the more elixirs you can consume in the middle of combat, and thanks to being in a purple haze, or as I like to call it, high as a kite, your vitality will increase for all of the beverages I've listed, and that's just what you have available in the first village. Wait till you get to the capital and obtain all of the recipes. Are there health risks involved with such irresponsible potion consumption? Yes, of course. For your enemies, I've taken to fist-fighting entire gangs of bandits for fun. It fills my heart with joy to see the terror on their faces as they realize they're being dispatched with brutal efficiency by a madman who still has traces of blood in the alcohol pouring through his veins, impervious to their weapons that are breaking on his back. But you don't need to overdose yourself on stimulants for every fight, because your vitality maxes out at 30. Besides, there's an elixir for every occasion. Seeing in the dark, controlling your pets, steadying your hand for crafting or plying other trades, and even one that helps you be better at socializing. I don't even know them all, but if I find out something that I feel like sharing, expect another lesson just like this one. And if someone like me reveals a potion recipe to you, you may brew the elixir yourself and then write down the instructions in your cookbook. Better living through alchemy. That should be our motto. Anyway, I hope this guide was helpful to you. If you want to see others like it, make sure you add a bandit thumb to the cauldron. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Beautiful.